Long Walk to Freedom by Nelson Mandela. First Flight, Chapter 2. Introduction. Long Walk to Freedom is an autobiography written by the South African President Nelson Mandela. This book profiles his early life, coming of age, education, and 27 years in prison. The book has been highly acclaimed and has been published in numerous languages and also adapted into a movie. The chapter is an extract from the book Long Walk to Freedom. In this, Mandela talks about a historic occasion, the inauguration, which marked the end of white rule in South Africa. Theme. The chapter traces the long walk to freedom from a racist society to one that is free from all prejudices, hatred, and exploitation. It also pays a befitting tribute to the patriots who waged a relentless struggle against apartheid. Not knowing how or when they would achieve success, they did their part and inspired the likes of Nelson Mandela. It gives a message of peaceful coexistence and equality where people are courageous, loving, and free. There is neither an oppressor nor the oppressed. Chapter Summary and Progression. On 10th May 1994, an autumn day, Nelson Mandela was sworn in as the first black president of South Africa, marking an end to more than 3 centuries of white rule. The swearing-in ceremony took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheatre of Union Buildings in Pretoria, amidst a rainbow gathering of dignitaries and politicians from more than 140 countries. In his address, he thanked the international guests in coming for, I quote, "what is after all a common victory for justice, peace, and human dignity," unquote. He went on to pledge, never, never again will this beautiful land experience the oppression of one by another. He wished that freedom in Africa should reign. The army officials who could have caught him and put him in jail on an earlier day were saluting him to pay respect to the newborn democracy of South Africa. The 2 national anthems were sung at the time of his swearing-in ceremony. He was overwhelmed by history. He recalled how the white-skinned people had erected a system of racial discrimination which formed the basis of one of the harshest and most inhumane societies in the world history. He paid homage to the national martyrs because of whose efforts apartheid had finally been uprooted. He said that he was simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before him. Those great people had taught courage to the likes of him. He said that the emergence of such great men having courage, wisdom, and generosity was an offshoot of decades of brutality and oppression. For him, the people of South Africa were its greatest wealth despite the rich minerals and gems. He affirmed that no one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, his background, or his religion. If people can learn to hate, they can be taught to love too. He knew that man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. He spoke about the twin obligations of a person, obligation towards his family and obligation towards his nation. While discharging his duties, he found he was not free to fulfill any of the 2 obligations. As he grew from a boy to a young man, he felt that his freedom was violated at every step just because of his color. The same applied to his brothers and sisters as well. His desire for his people to live with dignity and self-respect transformed his life forever. Hence, he rebelled, became an outlaw, joined the African National Congress, and fought for the freedom of his country. From a law-abiding attorney, he became a criminal of law. He knew that the oppressor, who was a prisoner of hatred, prejudice, and narrow-mindedness, must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. The oppressor and oppressed were alike robbed of their humanity. And now we come to a brief synopsis of the chapter. Nelson Mandela, the first black president of South Africa, after more than 3 centuries of white rule, celebrated very vividly the grand ceremony of the first democratic non-racial government. Being sworn in, he said radiantly that never, never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another. He paid homage to the freedom fighters who were men of uncommon courage, wisdom, and generosity. He said that it was because of their efforts that they had been able to get freedom from racism. Mandela emphasized that love is more powerful than hatred and one must emerge victorious by triumphing over one's fears. People should remain humane and not become prisoners of hatred, prejudice, or narrow-mindedness. You can have a look at the question answers.